Okay. Oh, my croaky throat. I think I'm coming down with a cold. So if I sound a little funny or a little sniffly, which I'm going to try not to, I think that is why. Massive creak from the chair as I'm speaking. So this is nice and dry, waiting for us to start affixing bits. For now it's just giving that another coat, because it's nice and dry, but we want it nice and white. So let's just, like I said but a moment ago for you, this is going to need a few coats because I want it to be really white. I'd say like skull white, but bones aren't really white, are they? I want this nice and clean and smooth looking before we mess it up. The edges don't matter too much, it's getting this centre bit nice and white. I don't think we'll need another one after that. We'll see. So yes, very brief little clip, just to keep everything nice and transparent for you all. But we have other things to be getting on with in the meantime. So even though I've got to wait for that to dry, I have other stuff that I can crack on with, which is brilliant. I like to be productive. I like the patient aspect as well. So you've got to let things dry in between. And sometimes it's nice to have a little pause like that, but when I can get going with a few things. So I've got this on the go. I've got the tea blob monster drying out. He is probably going to take at least a week to dry out. He is so saturated with glue, but he's looking amazing. Adding those last two bits, well, you'll see. Because I think this will probably go up before that one does. So we're not going to say too much about the tea blob monster. We'll leave him for when he comes out. So yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to let this, that's dry, it's ready and waiting. Our maggots are dry. I guess we could look at putting a little bit of detail on these. Eyeball already. We've got the worm already. We've got plenty of maggots to play with, so let's pop her there for a second. That there. Let's have a look at these little maggots. We need to put some like little creases. I'm wondering, like I said, we've got a few to have a little experiment with. I'm wondering whether to pen on some little lines, little segmented lines, or whether to groove them and let these all have a wash. Now that'd be cool and effective, but these I need to see from all angles because I haven't decided which way round they're going. And if I dip them in a wash, it'll give us a nice effect because it'll sink into the grooves, but it's also going to be hard. There's no way to do it all over without it resting down like so, or like they are right now, which means the one side will have basically a clean bottom and a little bit of a frill. So they'll start to look like really tiny sea cucumbers instead of maggots. But let's have a little experiment with them. So I don't think, oddly enough at the moment, that I have a fine marker. Although, let's have a look. See if we can get it doesn't have to be black. This is going to take some time. But that could work. Creek we go. Make sure my head's not too far in there. this could work. It'll take a steady hand. It's going to take time. That could work. It already look a bit more maggot-like. The line put in. Let's do a couple and see how they look. And we'll try a colour other than pink as well. Or I've got a couple of shades of pink. They haven't got to be perfect. They can be a little bit different. They're not clones of each other after all. This would be really good for the worm, I think. That might be a bit too bright. Let's keep that one and that one together for now. I have to sort this chair out at some point because if it's going to drive me potty hearing every time I lean forward, I don't know if it'll help bringing it down a little bit. No, that seems to have made it worse. Days. Let's bring it back up. You've got to try not to lean forward, not to lean in any direction. Right, that one and that one. Let's try a paler one with the next one. See how that works. A whole heap of difference. He's folded over that point, so I'm working off it. Even, well, that one and that one not too bad. Let's try peach. We'll try blues as well. Well, may as well give them all a bit of a go. Red might be too much, but we'll see. So, yeah, peachy one next. Let's see how this looks. Okay, that one's not too bad. More fleshy. Shaped like a croissant. Not the finest line going. one doesn't look too bad either. This one's a bit vibrant, but that's not a bad thing. That one's a little toned down. That one's a little bit more fleshy. Let's try. So I think this is going to be far too bold. We'll give it a go anyway. Like I said, we've got plenty to play with. And they can all be a little bit different. I think this one straight off the bat, way too bold. Looking more like a little Beetlejuice critter than an actual maggot. And that doesn't really matter with what we're doing because we're working with a Severed Mermaid's Head after all, so. So as far as experiments go, we can have like a couple of stray ones that are a little bit out there. Right. This is probably not the best choice, but we will continue anyway. I'll give it a fair trial. And if the lines are rather unforgiving, the darker that they get. Ones, they have got their own little charm going on. They've not got, they're not instantly dismissed as. I think they're all going to look interesting. Let's try the blue spectrum. But I don't. Well, like I say, we will pick one and go with one for the remainder. We'll just give all of these a chance first. They can all be involved. Some of them are going to get covered in gore anyway. Whichever one we pick will probably be the one that we do the worm with. Instantly less forgiving. The lines are going to stand out more. We'll have to think as well of something to do with the rest of that air drying clay. before it bites the dust. Right, last one. I think all the others are going to be far too bold. I think if this were a darker maggot, this would have been a good one for that, but since we're quite pale, I think we're going to need to stick to being quite pale. Right. Well, I don't think you can see quite what I can see. I might be wrong. I think probably, oddly enough, one of these two, and I'm swaying a little bit more to this one. It's a little bit more fleshy. So I might do the remainders in a combination of those three, and then decide. Let's put all these ones away. I'll do the remaining maggots. They do look all cool together. In a share of those. And then we'll decide, because we'd have done enough at that point. So what we got? Well, we'll just do a little handful of each. And then we'll have a look and see what we're going to do with the worm. This is definitely one of those little things where you've got to be committed to doing it, because once you start, you can't just tap out, and it is going to take a bit of focus and a little bit of fiddly time. While we're doing this, we can chat and discuss and think about what we're going to do with the rest of the air drying clay. It definitely doesn't have much life left in it. Would it be worth using it to make some more little props, little friends for other things that we're working on? Or should we use it to commit to a piece all of its own? I mean, we are in Halloween at the moment, so it feels like if I were going to do anything that involved making little creepy crawlies for or whatnot, that would be good to use that for that. I want to get some, so I've made some fairly crude in the sense of not looking wholly polished, but it worked for what it was. Some severed hands out of plaster. When I was in the shops the other day, I could not find plaster for love nor money. I could find polyfiller, but I didn't want that. I wanted a bag of plaster just to mix up, to make a severed hand with. So it's quite effective, quite fun. Like I say, a bit crude looking, a bit cheesy looking. It was nice. Nice little thing. So I could, because I didn't use, when I made a severed hand out of plaster before, I just painted it up. But it might be quite nice to have a little, a few creepy crawlies kicking around on that. Or we have the unholy tomato, which I put, it was a guest appearance in Halloween themed origami. So I might get it to have a guest appearance in this one too, because it is definitely a Halloween tomato if ever I saw one. It is the scariest looking tomato out there. So we could, because I'm not eating it, you'll see why that'll be more than enough reason to show you. So I could make some things to crawl out of that. The only other idea I had with it was attempting to hollow out the head, because it's going to die at some point. It's a tomato, it's not going to live forever, it's already suffering, shall we say. So yeah, I was going to hollow it out and make a little jack-o'-lantern style centerpiece. Swap up. No, we'll keep you out for a second, so we've got to decide what we're going to do with the worm. So other options, because that might not be wholly viable, though it would be interesting to see us try, I think. I don't know anyone who's tried to hollow out a tomato to put a tea light in it before, though I don't think I'm going to get a tea light small enough. It's a relatively big tomato, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get a tea light small enough to go in it. Though there are some very, very tiny lights in Poundland at the moment, since not only is it Halloween round the corner, it's Christmas round the corner as well, so there is a slight crossover, well, a big crossover as to what's available in the shops. And they have loads of very tiny pound strings of lights, which I've used before for all sorts of things. They're well handy for such a little cheap thing. I've actually got some cork lights, so you can put them inside a bottle. There's a cork on the top. They'd be small enough as well. Make it perhaps a bit of a tribute to The Nightmare Before Christmas and make it a scary Halloween/Christmas tomato. But that's detracting from thinking about what we're going to do with the air drying clay. It's part of it, because if I do that, I could make some little adornments, some little attachments for the tomato, over some more creepy crawlies, or some features, give it a face, make some little eyeballs, make some little teeth. What else could we possibly do with the air drying clay? We can always just make a little sculpture of some such. I'm unsure what that sculpture would be. Saying that we're keeping the Halloween theme, there's just so many things. I could make some little badges out of it. Pretty sure I've got some badge clips somewhere. Make some little Halloween themed. Oh, this one's really sketchy, this one. Lines are all over the place, not very thin at all. This one's a little worse for wear, this guy. He might have been picked on by the others. Yeah, he might have been picked on by the others. He's not looking too rosy, that one. We'll do one more in this, and then we'll go to the peach. Fleshy coloured one. Oh yes, I'm editing wise. I'm going to go for, well, you'll be hearing it right now. I'm going to go for putting music in the background as well as the dialogue. I think it does add to a lot of the work I'm doing. And I think it's just nice. Because I know some people watch this or / listen to this more for the sound of my voice. And it is, or does seem to be anyway, a good accompaniment. So that when I'm not talking, it's not just silence. Especially if you're just looking for something to listen to in the background. Because I do that. It's like I'll put on a video that's interesting to me and I have intentions of watching it, but I end up more listening to it than watching it. So hopefully you're all happy with that decision. And there will be more painting. Well, I'm working on a painting as it is. I've still got one canvas, one last big canvas to do for my friend. And I've got 3 little ones to do for her, but I've got 1, get those canvases in, and 2, recheck with her what the other 2 animals were that she wanted. I remember, because it's going to be 3, I remember 1 was a flamingo, and I'm quite sure another one was a cat, but I don't remember what the 3rd one was, and there was definitely 3 she wanted. Excuse me. And I also have some more canvases on the horizon to do, which is very cool. I appreciate that, from the mother-in-law. She would very much like some Picasso themed portraits. She's a woman who knows what she wants, so she's getting those canvases and reference material together because she's seen some works of Picasso that she really likes. So I'm going to try, well, we'll be doing those in the future as well, the not too distant future. And I think that is all. Oh, there will be 1 really big one to do for her as well as the 4 smaller ones. Just I don't think I'm going to be able to record that one because I'm going to have to do it on site. That'll also be Picasso themed. And then after that, I think that is all the canvases currently in commission. Well, not done because they're not done yet, but that's the lineup. In the meantime, I've let my tea go cold, so I'm going to address that in a second, but I also need the toilet anyway. So let's just get this one done first. I can hold out long enough to get this one done. And I think looking at our maggots, which make a really appealing sound when you're rolling your hand over them. They've got a bit of a spring to them. This is funny air drying clay to play with. I've never quite played with foam style, well, silk clay it's called, but it's I'm calling it a foamy air drying clay. I think I'm tempted by the pink. I think it's going to be one of these 2. That's the more vibrant one. That's the washed down one. So I think it's one of those 2. I'm going to put that one away. I'm going to trust that it's one of these 2. I'm going to stop playing with them. Would it be you? 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 I'm sort of swaying towards the orange, but the pink does have its charm in this nature. Gotta decide, because I need to wee, and that urge is not going to go away just by me staring at a worm. I also want to, you know, I've got to commit, whichever one it is, it's going to be. Will the orange be too much? Will the peach? Will the peach be too much? Do we alternate it? You know, we've got to have a couple of segments that aren't so banded. So let's go. We're going to put those segments in first. Say around here. And about here. Again down here somewhere, roundabouts here. And here. Now we're going to try putting the rest in the pink. Like that, like one more. Well, not originally, but when I started this little segment, I thought, I won't be striping all the worm because a lot of it's going to be hidden. It's just really this end and this end. But then I thought, well, there's going to be stuff spilling out the bottom, so if you flip it around and look under there and you see that there's a big fat plain worm, it's just not going to work. I'll be going to commit to it, right? I think as well, though it's not necessarily Halloween themed, I've got a canvas in mind. Well, it's one, a separate one, not for anyone. It might go up for sale at some point. I have some canvases, some pre-printed canvases that have been donated to me by a good friend. And one of them is 3 racehorses, or like their heads. And I had an idea. So I really like Warhammer 40k and 30k, and just Warhammer full stop. Especially the demons. I mean, I love reading about them all. I love the demons, and Slaanesh was slash is, and always will be, my chosen demon. A lovely Slanesh based army. But I also, as I learnt more and read more, really came to like Nurgle as well. Very cool. Slanesh, for those of you who don't know, is all about excess and very sensory. So anything sexual, overindulgent, vices, done to the max. That's Slanesh. Nurgle is all about plague. Until you learn about Nurgle, you think, oh, he's all about death and decay. And he is, but it's he's all about life, really, as odd as that may sound, because the diseases that he creates and spreads, Nurgle's rot, to name one, they're like his children. He loves them. They live on with a touch of decay about them. Spread these diseases. They're like his children. Whereas Slanesh wouldn't give two hoots if anything happened to her. Hers/his. In fact, he'd revel in it somehow. He/she. But Slanesh is like that. All about having everything at all times. So yeah, I grew to really like Nurgle, and he was fun with his little Nurglings. Oh, I had so much fun putting those models together. You could do anything with them. And same for Slanesh, really. I'd modify models all the time. And then there's Khorne. He's sort of the bloodlust, blood and skulls, and death. But not death in that sense, like more like murder, kill, brutalise. And his are more of like your, I guess you could say, excuse me, he's more like traditional demons, being all red and bloody. So he'd be really cool as well. Those three I really like. Sorry, Tinzinch, which there'll be a divide. Some people call him Tinzinch, a lot of people call him Zeech. Is it Zeech or Zinch? Zeech. I call him Tinzinch. I prefer that to the Zeech, but the Zeech does make sense because he's quite bird-like as well, and that's the more, I mean, they're all magical, aren't they, really, but he's the more magic-based one, like psychics and mental powers and things like that. And he's very cool visually, and you can have so much fun with him as well, but he never really, he got left behind in my world, so I'm not really fussed about him. He can, the changeling and whatnot, he can just like hover over there. Slanesh, Nurgle, Khorne, or Slanesh, Khorne, Nurgle. It's a toss-up between Khorne and Nurgle. Probably swaying a little bit towards Nurgle because, again, like I said, the amount of fun you can have with him. But yeah, I was going to get, or will be at some point, get that canvas down from upstairs and paint, well, adjust these horses to represent, these horse heads anyway, to represent the three gods of chaos that I like. So I think that'll be really fun, and given what they're like, blood, disease, excess, we could pitch that for Halloween. Blood and a disease, obviously, blood with vampires, disease with zombies, and excess, well, for the people that do trick or treat, all the candy, all the chocolate, all the sweets. Right. Oh, I'm going to do one more coat on that, and then we're going to pause because I need to make a tea and go for a wee, and then hopefully when that's dry we can start getting all these finishing touches put on her. Our mermaid's head. she should be done. So we are going to call it pause there for me, and a little bit of a cut for you. So see you in a second with all of this fun. Okay, we are back. That is dry. Maggots and worms ready, eyeball ready. Had a thought while that was drying, and there's something missing from under here. I'm gonna want a little piece of spine. Just a little piece. So when you do look under there, you can see, which is also handy because then it gives us something else to use this for. I was going to use some polystyrene foam. I thought that's going to make a right mess, which isn't an issue, but I am looking for stuff to use this up with, and this will be perfect. Put the tiniest bit of pink in there to throw it just off. Then we'll keep it as it is. Let's pop that over there. We're going to make, and you can tell the difference between this stuff today and that stuff the other day. This is so much more soft and pliable. So we're going to make a bit of a squished donut, a bit like that. Round it off a little bit, or even it out a little bit, sorry. Not too fussed about it being perfectly round. Just, that's where, was it, your spinal fluid would be, running right through the middle there. Goes in a little bit. So that's going to come out just enough. So it doesn't matter how it looks up one end. I want it to look approximately right down the bottom end. The top can get closed off if it wants. Something a bit like that. And it can look a bit bad because after all she's got a severed head. So we're going to leave that to dry, and that can just be, I guess, a tiny bit more towards the back than the front, about there. Like that. When we flip her up and we see all her go and whatnot, we'll see that she's actually got a spine of such. So that can just go over there to dry. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at putting this in here. So we're going to stick it in first, and then we're going to glue from inside the wound. Otherwise, as we slide it up, glue will be running all up the inside of her face. We want that there, like that, which is perfect. And we're going to get the Yoo-hoo glue and splodge it all under the edge of the wound there. And then probably press it in from behind. This is where she's going to start to take a bit more shape. So let's just get a bit of that all down, quite a bit behind the wound. Right, let's put the lid back on that, because this Yoo-hoo glue can go a little bit wild sometimes. Just going to give it a little bit of a press around. Doesn't matter if a bit oozes out, because we're going to have a bit of ooze anyway. About there. bit of skull showing. See how it looks if we put the hair back in place. Perfect. Looking good, looking good. Now, do we try and put the eye in next? That's going to be a tricky one to put in, because we don't want this hole so big. What if we take a little tiny slither out? I've got some diddy scissors. Let's take a tiny, tiny, tiny slither out. Very tiny, so tiny. Can't pinch. Like that. Massive creak of the chair there. Just so a bit more eye can show. Those back for a second, so we don't need them right now. Let's have a peek. That's pretty good. We're going to want, the second I take my finger away, oh, it's not so bad. That's going to be a little trickier to glue in place. I think we're going to get a little bit of ooze around. How would be best? Put that there. Like that. So can we get the glue in there? Bring it down. We can try, can't we? We'll only know if we try. On that before it starts oozing itself, which it is. It's like oozing out of her worm wound. Let's try pressing that in there. We're just going to hold it there for a moment. A tiny bit. Oh, I can feel the glue. This is where I'm going to get covered in all sorts. And Yoo-hoo glue is notoriously tricky to get off your fingers. Maybe down just a little bit more. A tiny bit. About there. Right. That should be okay to leave for the moment. Doesn't look like it's moving too much, so we're going to let that dry before I manhandle it too much. I don't think this takes a whole long time to dry. I also think it probably doesn't say, it probably said on the box before I threw the box away. We are going to have a pause and let that dry before we start manhandling her more. And then when we come back, we'll look at getting the worm in, getting the maggots in. That's not going to be dry enough to do anything with just yet. We can get the worm in and the maggots in, and then let them dry because we're going to glue those in place. Then hopefully, well, we'll see how it goes. This might have to be a tomorrow thing. It's going to take a bit of time to dry. Dry enough to use anyway. So at the moment, if I squish it around too much, I'm going to deform it. So I'm just going to let it rest enough, perhaps, for the edges to crust up a bit. And then we'll get that put in. And then yeah, once all those bits are attached, we can start bloodying up her face a little bit. And maybe messing up the hair. Run, only with my finger, a chance to get paint on my hands. Just run a little bit of grime through her hair. time to do that now. I'm expecting a phone call soon, so probably don't quite have time enough to do that now. But I can always do that the second that the phone call is over with. Although, yeah, I'm going to have to let this dry because I'm going to have to flip her around to mucky up the back of her hair because this is just far too crisp and clean. So yeah, we are at the point again of letting her dry before we do anything else. She's starting to come together. She's starting to look like a right nightmare. Which is good. It's what we want. Halloween after all. Creepy and dead. So, yep, a pause again. And then we'll come back and start getting all of these guys attached. Oozing out of where they need to ooze out. And hopefully this as well. So let's, actually we'll pop that away, so I don't think we need that anymore for what we're doing for the finishing touches of her. Unless anything else springs to mind as we're going, so we can always whip it out again. So I will keep that for a moment longer because we can use some of these mucky colours we've got here to bring through the hair and dirty it up a little bit before we add the red. So yeah, another little pause. You'll see this in but a second. I will get a few other things sorted out and this phone call sorted out. So yeah, back in a moment.